Hi everyone, welcome to the temple. My name is Tiffany Ota RA, High Priestess and Lead Master Teacher at the 144K Crystalline Temple of the Sacred Flames. So many of us resonates with the word Lemuria. Lemuria brings forth so much love and this feeling of home and wholeness within our soul. We remember the connections that we have with the galactics, with the elementals, and with each other. Many of us here are reincarnated Lemurians here to continue our Lemurian legacy. And in this video, I wanted to share with you my love for Lemuria, the visions that I've seen of Lemuria as a channeler myself and giving readings to so many people across the globe. These visions are truly magnificent, and perhaps listening to this transmission today will help affirm and activate some of your Akashic memories as a Lemurian. When I first began my journey as a spiritual healer, I was shown a memory in a deep meditation with my higher self, where they've shown me I was a Lemurian priestess. She wore a white long dress that were made of very silken but bioplasmic type of energy. It's hard to describe. She had long hair and she was a female. And in that lifetime, she also wore a crown as well. In that lifetime, she was a crystal garden tender. And so I remember these beautiful crystalline gardens, and being in those gardens brought me so much joy. Just think of how much joy a farmer has watching the harvest, the flowers, the bees, and the butterflies come into their gardens and their farm. That was the feeling that I got when I remember myself in that moment in time. That alone was a vibrational and spiritual activation for me, as though this key code have opened up an entire life remembrance and timeline for me. As I remember myself as that priestess in that lifetime, I was also shown the magnificent structure and architecture that we had in Lemuria. Everything was done with such care and love. There was sacred geometry on the floor. It felt like crystal. It felt very light. And the walls and the structure of the temples, the schools, the ceremonial places, very much blended in with nature. And many of you have watched the movie Lord of the Rings, and when they went into Rivendell, it really reminded me of Lemuria. The structure itself was created alongside with the harmony of the land, because Lemurians can hone in and see the vibration that come off from the shapes of the rocks, the shapes of the mountain. And instead of what modern day men do by breaking open forests, by breaking open rocks to create an architecture, Lemurians study the architecture first, then they create their homes and structure, honoring and respecting the land and the elementals there. And I feel that this is something that will become more and more common as more and more Lemurian starseeds and lightworkers start to lead this new timeline. Is we're going to bring back these respectful ancestral legacy and practices where we honor the land instead of exploiting the land. These structures as well were designed with care to amplify and to uphold the well-being, the wholeness and coherence of the beings that live within them. So instead of having very angular walls like we have right now in our modern day society, the architecture in Lemuria was very open, it was rounded, it gives you a very harmonious feeling. Just imagine yourself, right, in a room that has a lot of corners, a lot of angles. You will not feel as harmonized as being in a room that's very rounded, has a lot of curves and beautiful designs around the walls. So everything was created with wholesomeness in mind, in heart. Is living in this space alone is a healing vibration. They were also a celebration of nature as well. Lemurians didn't really have a separation away from nature. Whatever buildings that I was able to see thus far always have some type of connection to the elementals, the guardians of the land. If it's a lagoon, there were always animals around us, mer beings. If it was a cave, there were always luminescent beings in there, the little beings that we would call fays or elementals. There were different types of galactic beings at the time as well. There were beautiful beings from Venus. There were master teachers from Sirius, Arcturus. There was a whole array of diversity and unification that were with us at that time in Lemuria. I also noticed that the fauna and the ecosystem looked very different as well. The colors were very vibrant. The plants themselves sometimes can be a bit larger in scale in Lemuria, and everything was alive. Sometimes we walk down the street or even the park in our current embodiment. We forget that each tree, each bush, each flower is a being that's alive. In Lemuria, you could hear the songs that a rose sing to you. You can hear the deep murmur and chatters of the trees around us. Lemuria was a place of multidimensional communication. Not only through words, we use songs, we use light language, we use telepathy, we use frequency, we use sign language. There were so many ways that we use to communicate with the different beings that surround us. There was such coherence and such respect of each other, one another. There was no needing something from a tree. There was no exploitation. It was a place of utmost harmony. So much so that Lemurian didn't need to eat very often, or if at all, because the synergetic energy feeds the DNA, the energy system within their body. They did not need to consume dense meat, for example. They did not even need to consume plant matter at times. Just connecting with the water, connecting with the stargate, connecting with crystal in itself feeds their cells quantum spiritually. Now, because of the role that I play as a master teacher, Akashic Records, and High Priestess, a lot of people that I tap into when I'm giving them Akashic readings, or students that I work with and I give them readings during their training sessions, is that we see a lot of us had particular purposes, particular, I would say, choices of duties or responsibilities. Some students I saw would communicate with a mother tree. They would honor the different phases of life as a Lemurian, celebrating from childhood to adulthood, from adulthood to parenthood, for example. There were different stages of ceremonies that Lemurians really honored. These different types of stages and teachings are still ingrained in many ancient cultures and indigenous cultures for that very reason, that these teachings were passed down through generations, even back to the Lemurian era. Other students that I have worked with were scholars in these grand libraries and schools in Lemuria. There were libraries of not only books, but advanced technologies, trinkets, items that I would not even know how to describe. There was just a vast library of knowledge available. The libraries they have stored beyond just books. There were tablets, there were devices, there were trinkets, like I said, that were on display. There were groups of scholars that would study with each other. Everyone learned with each other. Every single person had a choice and opportunity to contribute to the library of knowledge in Lemuria. Some would contribute through artwork, some would contribute through the circuitries that they've created. There was a vast celebration of each soul's contribution in Lemuria that I would say in the modern day, we don't have that as much. Artists were not as appreciated as much right now in this modern day. People are forced to be in a mold rather than, okay, this is a soul, what are they good at? Let's nurture that, let's celebrate that. Some people are really good chefs, they're really good with cooking, but they are stuck in a job that they don't like because the structure that we have now doesn't support them to take on the role that their soul truly embodies and enjoys doing. So I feel that us Lemurians and Lightworkers and Starseeds are here to create this new system where we look at a child for who they are and to nurture them based on who they are, but not to stuff them into a system to become part of this slavery. And so this is part of our sacred mission as a Lemurian, everyone. We're here to recalibrate and to create this Lemurian legacy once more. Now, given said that, as I continue to remember my Lemurian past life as well, there were some things that came into my consciousness. There were darkness that came and overshadowed us. And I remember there were what we call the dark reptilians or the alpha draconians that came forth, and I remember harvested and took over the crystalline gardens that I was tending in that lifetime. And when I remember that, it brought me so much grief and sadness that I felt a part of my sacred mission was lost. And so, see, this timeline or this remembrance came to me when I was just starting my path as a light worker. And it showed me both the light and the darkness that held within our lightworker consciousness, that we remember the grandness of these Lemurian legacies, but at the same time, we also remember what came with it in the duality way of existence. And so when I remember that, I took that as fuel, as energy to help me remember and to motivate myself to really come forward to shine my light. Because I remember that even though those crystalline gardens might have been harvested, might have been exploited, that I'm still here. I came back as a soul. My soul was something that they cannot take away from me. And that it is important for me to continue on this Lemurian legacy. And to be honest, everyone, at that time, I really didn't know where I was going to go. I just knew I wanted to be an energy healer. I didn't know I was going to be hosting hundreds of workshops. I didn't know I was going to be able to teach and guide thousands of people every week. I didn't know I was even going to become High Priestess or to lead the temple. But I gave myself the chance to open up to the possibilities. And so for those of you that are feeling perhaps lost or confused at this time, my utmost and heartfelt guidance is to give yourself that chance to create your legacy. You're not supposed to know everything that's going to happen in your future, but right now, just ask yourself, what is it that sets your heart on fire? And do it. Do it without attachment. Do it without the need of wanting something back. Do it so that it brings forth that fire back into your soul and that everything else will click into place as you allow yourself to embody your Lemurian legacy. And for those of you that are wanting to reactivate your Lemurian healer self, rather as a priestess, as a scholar, as an alchemist, I invite you to join us in this temple through the Lemurian Rose 12 Rose Path lineages. Become a lineage holder once again. Work with the 12 Rose. Activate and download these rose light codes within your consciousness and light body and serve with this power. Serve humanity with a loving heart. It will be my honor and my blessing to welcome you into the temple alongside with my community of lightworkers and healers. Join me in my free monthly channeling workshops to open up your third eye and your spiritual gifts and also to check out my free Opening to Channel course below this video to get started. Much love, everyone.